think he kind of made up his mind at that point that I wasn't going to be the star athlete. So my mother, I was always really close to my mother. I used to do a lot of stuff with her, go hang out with her, go shopping, even as I got older, too. So me and my mother are pretty close. But as far as the gay thing goes, because she's still involved with church, it just kind of isn't talked about. But I just got through going to my grandmother, who just died recently in Ohio, her 90th birthday. She died at 90. But I saw a lot of family people I hadn't seen in years. So I'm sure everybody knows, but they just wouldn't bring it up, out of respect to me.
Wow. Well,
they just kind of let me.
By the way, I'm sorry for hearing that about your grandmother.
Thank you. But yeah, she was 90. She made it to 90, so that's. I hope to live that life.
Wow,
live that long myself.
That's amazing. That's beautiful, actually.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm about to get her. I told him to send me a quilt. There's a quilt top that she didn't finish. I'm going to try to finish that. And the sewing machine that I used when she was living with us, she would let me borrow her sewing machine, and I had like a little setup in the basement, and I was like pegging all the pants for all the kids. Everybody's wearing the pants really tight in the leg. Now they're wearing them again, skinny jeans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'd make clothes and things for people, and so I'm going to get my grandmother's sewing machine. That'll be a nice keepsake.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. I just recently lost my grandmother last year on my birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, I went through it. I'm dealing with it okay. So, you know what? I feel like I can relate. So, shout out to everybody who has lost their loved ones. So, Aaron, was your family accepting of? Did they know? Did they not know? Like,
they knew, and because I was so heavily into arts, painting, drawing, and things like that, that kind of almost was like a cover. So people just kind of thought of me as this little creative, a little nerdy too. So people kind of thought of me as this kind of creative professor.
Okay.
That kind of camouflaged any sugar they may have sent in my.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Are you planning on writing a book? Because that sounds like some interesting intellectual conversation right there.
I don't know. I got so many different projects I want to do. Once I get done with school, I'll be able to try to really work on stuff.
That's right.
I haven't thought about writing a book, but
yes, there's so much great information that's about to come out from the LGBT lifestyle experience that a lot of people doesn't know, because one of the things that people don't know out there that's tuning in is that everyone has their own story and everyone can learn off of each other's story, because we all experienced and controlled it in our own, each and individual way. And you know that we're all creative. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Now, so wow, so you've managed to, get by on that, and then, how did you discover the gay lifestyle after that? Like,
well, okay, so like I said, I didn't really start dealing with the possibility that I might be gay myself until junior year in high school, I would say. Everybody knew I was a big old sissy. I mean, I was designing clothes for people and making prom dresses and stuff like that. But I think I ventured down to like a magazine, newspaper stand, whatever, and noticed the naughty section.
Ooh, my favorite section. Let me stop.
And it took me a while, but I finally purchased a magazine, and then my magazine collection slowly built up. Ooh. Now I would keep my magazine collection in my art supplies, and my brother and sister would never stay out of my art supplies. I don't know why I thought of hiding it there, but one day they discovered them and went and told my mother.
Spooked.
I feel like that's an evasion, but it wasn't a mean coat. It was, I had to go take my magazines and burn them in the burning barrel in the backyard.
Oh, wow. They would have gagged, right?
Yeah, well, and so the way my mother, she asked me, she was just out of the blue one day, are you gay? And I was like, no, why? Because your brother and sister found your magazine collection.
Oh my God, I would have died.
Oh, I died. Oh, I fell out. But we had a previous episode with her reading my diary.
Oh.
But I wasn't based up at the time. It was just, whatever my thoughts and things. And one day we were just kind of sitting around, and she just started reciting lines from my diary, and I gagged. I was like, oh my goodness.
You was not ready for that. I wasn't ready.
Luckily we were close, me and my mother, but it was just like, okay. So when we got to that part, it's kind of like, who's that guy in the Bible who denied Christ 3 times? She basically asked me on 3 different occasions if I was gay, and I was like, no, I'm not. I finally, on the 3rd time, I had already moved to Chicago. I had just gotten here, I think I was 19, and went home to visit for Christmas. And we were just sitting down, again, out of the blue. Why do mothers just come out of the blue with stuff? They catch you, they blindside you.
Mother's instincts, Mama. You already know how, honey, we come from their womb. They can feel us in a way. They sense us.
Yeah. So she asked me again, and I said, yeah. And the next question was, how do you know? And I was like...
she wants the details.
I'm like, how in the world am I supposed to... So anyway, we had a nice conversation. Then by the end of the week, I had to go back to school, and she started kind of getting a little sad or whatever, because, her main thing was like, she didn't want me catching diseases or but I was a pretty, she had done her job as far as raising me. So, I managed to live in Chicago. I've been living in Chicago for over 30 years. I don't have any relatives here. I've been living on my own. I have, so I mean, she did her job, and like even I tell her now, I said, you know what, you don't have anything to worry about. People are going to say what they're going to say, but you can be proud of all your kids.
Yes, down.
One way or another.
Okay. Hey, you know what they say? You can walk on water, and people will say it's because you don't know how to swim. Gag. But that's just people, What people have to say doesn't matter. It's what God has to say, and He hasn't said anything yet, so He's chilling.
Yeah.
I know that's
all right.
All right. So, how did you discover the gay lifestyle now? Like, what happened after that? After all of that, after they spooked the diary. By the way, that happened to me when I was little. So we do have a couple of things in common. Yeah, my sister read my diary, and she blew up my tea one time when she got tight at me. And my mom was there. My mom came out. She was like, "Well, I already knew," and I was like,
Well, I gotta kind of jump back a little bit. Before I moved to Chicago, like I said, I was pretty involved with church and everything. We would have gospel skate parties, and I had all the records, so I would get in free. And they knew I was moving to Chicago in the fall to go to school, and I just remember some of the friends from the gospel skate parties. They were like, "Oh, you're going to Chicago?" They was like, "Oh, well, don't they have to let them have you up on Belmont? Snap, snap, snap." And I didn't know what she was talking about, but then I was like, "That's the first place I looked for when I got to Chicago. Where's Belmont?" And not only that, I was trying to find out. Okay, I'm not 21, because in Chicago you had to be 21 to get into bars and stuff like that. I called a hotline. It was like, hey, what's to do for gay youth and blah, 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 whatever. I got the information. I went and started going to, this youth group, which was an interesting mix of kids from, some kids were homeless, street kids. Some kids were their parents were dropping them off from the suburbs in the city for the day. I mean, it was a weird mixture of kids, but it was for people who weren't old enough to go to the bar. So I started going to that, and then eventually I started going to bars too, and I was getting in bars underage. But I guess they take me as when I say underage, I mean like 18, 19.
Ooh, don't feel bad. We was doing it in New York too, honey. But you know what? That was cool. It was the same thing like New York. We had, Hedrick Martin Institute. We had a couple of other, GMEC and other places that, had all kinds of kids and, that came from everywhere, to, be around other gay youth. So that's what's up. Give a shout out to them.
Yes, shout out to them. Our group was called Horizon. So I don't know if anybody listening remembers Horizon.
Girl, this is Borrow Z Radio. Everybody be listening.
There's another thing.
Act like they don't press play. Just because you don't log in, honey, doesn't mean that we don't know that you press play. No, Tito say yes, but the girls be getting in. So yeah, go ahead, say it.
I forgot where I was. Prompt me again.
We was talking about Horizon.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that was the name of the youth group that I used to go to. It was just be on the weekends. Oh, they had a Wednesday drop in too. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, we would go to a bar early. We used to go to this place called the Orbit Room. Early hours of the evening, and then by the time the 10 o'clock crowd is going to start coming in, people would get tapped on the shoulder, asked to leave because they weren't supposed to be in there because they were underage. Right. But I was one of the people that would not get asked to leave. I guess because I knew how to act.
I know that's right. Because you was making prom dresses at what age, honey?
High school. I mean, I almost didn't graduate from high school spending so much time on that.
You had your own big, honey. You was already independent. Cash to share.
Yeah, so that's made the transition to Chicago pretty easily. Actually, I did have one sole relative when I got here. I stayed with my great uncle, my grandmother's brother. But he was the only relative I had in Chicago.
Wow. And how did
then from there I found Belmont that they were telling me to stay away from. So you ever tell somebody, don't do this, because that's going to be the first thing that they're going to do.
Okay, can you know that, T? Okay, for those who don't know, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. For those who don't know what Belmont is, because I don't know what Belmont is right now. I've heard of it, but now you're going to tell me what Belmont is, honey.
Oh, Belmont is pretty much the neighborhood is called Boys Town. In Chicago. It used to be the center of gay life, but it's kind of slowly migrating further north. And so now Boys Town's kind of gotten more yuppie-fied, but there's still a lot of gay bars still down there. But Belmont is everybody would hang out in the summer. So it's almost like Christopher Street for New York. I'm not sure where the place would be down in Florida, but just a place where everybody goes, hang out. There's all the bars, and
it'll be South Beach. If not South Beach, it'll be over here in Ybor City, or they call it Gaybor City. Shout out to the girls' spots, by the way. Like cruise on.
Yeah. And we had an area called the Rock, which was near the Belmont Harbor Yacht Club. But after they redid that, they kind of pushed the girls out of there. But just places where pretty much all the same general area, just where people congregate. Gay people are going to find where to congregate.
I know that's right. Sure. What's going on with this Navy Pier? I went to Chicago, and I went to this beautiful circus, and it was by the Navy Pier, and I noticed something my gaydar started going off.
Oh. I didn't know this. It's just a tourist spot. I mean, they put a lot of attractions out there. Got that big Ferris wheel, and I forgot the history of it, but...
Well, they should have warned me before I went into the bathroom.
Oh, no, I didn't know. I didn't realize that was going on, but...
No, I'm just
that's something else. I mean, you know what? We'll find a space. I mean, we don't care.
Hey, Central Park was notorious for it. Shout out to the Central Park girls now.
And in Chicago would be, I guess, Washington Square Park. I'm not Washington Square Park. That's New York. Washington Park. Jackson Park. I
Remember
mean,
them.
basically all you need is